In this video, we'll be discussing tips for preventing colic, specifically the types of colic that will occur in the winter, especially here in Alberta. So colic is actually a general term for any type of discomfort that the horse is experiencing in its abdomen, basically a bellyache. So it can be anything on a spectrum from a very simple type of colic that is a buildup of gas in the intestines, all the way down to the other end of the spectrum that's a twist or something that's going to need surgery to resolve. In the winter, impactions are the thing that we tend to worry about being weather associated, and that means just a buildup of the ingesta or feed material within the intestine that causes a blockage and causes everything to back up behind that. We diagnose impaction colics often on rectal exam. You can feel that hard piece of intestine with ingesta inside of it, and that's something that we will often treat with fluids, either oral fluids through a stomach tube, or in a more severe case will require intravenous fluids to keep hydrated. And that's one thing that we can really keep in mind in trying to prevent this type of colic, is make sure that the horse is staying adequately hydrated, which is more difficult in the winter time. People think that there's snow outside, so that will be adequate for the horses to get their water, but in actual fact it can take 10 times as much snow for the horse to be able to maintain its hydration as the same amount of water. Horses actually need up to 10 gallons of water per day to stay adequately hydrated. In the wintertime, it's really important for them to have free access to water and to warm water. Horses have been shown to drink up to about 40% more water if it's a little bit warmer in the wintertime. They're just more motivated to drink when that's the case. Another important thing to keep in mind is feeding plenty of frequent small meals throughout the day if the horse is not grazing. Plenty of frequent meals of forage material like hay will more mimic the normal environment of the horse, which is grazing. Horses are actually supposed to eat between 2 and 2.5% of their body weight per day. Plenty of exercise is also important for preventing colic, and that's something that is often harder for the horses to have access to in cold weather. So spreading out the feet a little bit so that they are walking to and fro, providing some turnout, even turnout in an indoor arena if that's what it takes to get them a little bit of exercise. And the last thing that's really important to keep in mind is watching for changes in weather. There's not been any actual research showing that horses colic with changes in weather, but as veterinarians we sure see that pattern, and I know you do as horse owners as well. When the weather all of a sudden gets warmer or all of a sudden gets colder, certainly when we have Chinooks here in Calgary, that's really when we see a lot of weather-related colic. So being extra vigilant during those times, making sure the horses have access to water, especially during those times, making sure they get some exercise, making sure their feed isn't changing too quickly or their environment isn't changing too quickly, and just monitoring for signs of colic during those times especially. And those signs of colic might include being a little bit restless, not eating quite as well, not passing as much feces as normal, watching their sides, lying down a little bit more, pawing. And if you see any of those signs, it's really important to touch base with your veterinarian and get a recommendation for where to go to next.